Hello and welcome to episode number 65 of the Knitting Teaspoon podcast. I'm Liesbeth, your host, and this is a podcast which is usually all about knitting, spinning, sewing, crochet, weaving. Basically all the fiber crafts that I feel like. And as you can see, today is going to be a little bit of a special episode, and that has everything to do with my co-host here. So, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Karel and I'm your boyfriend.
So, this is my boyfriend and he is on the show with me today. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're wearing, Karel?
I'm wearing a beautiful sweater. So today I'm wearing a Marius Sweater, specially crafted for me by lovely Liesbeth.
And as you will be able to see, I'm wearing a matching sweater. And the reason that we are both wearing this sweater, even though it's summertime and basically way too hot to be wearing this sweater. Are you itchy? We both really wanted to be wearing this because we have an announcement to make. You want to tell it?
It's yours, but you already gave it away. We have an announcement to make.
And I think you can guess what the announcement is if I show you the next project that I've been making over the past week. We are having a baby!
Yay!
And that is the kind of news that I didn't want to share on my own. So we made a little family sweater for the baby we are expecting by the end of February next year. Today I'm 12 weeks pregnant, and this is basically all that I've been up to this week. So that's a bit weird. I don't really know what to say. Have any additions?
Hoi internet! Doei!
So that was our announcement for this week. So I would like to thank Karel for his presence here, and I will take over the podcast on my own as usual, but still on the couch setting because that was more convenient for this episode. And Karel can go back to reading his books or whatever he wants to do instead of being on this podcast.
Bye!
So, the word is out. I'm 12 weeks pregnant. This actually happened in the same week that I lost my job and lost my cousin. I found out in the same week that I was also pregnant. So it's been quite an emotional roller coaster for me. The more because this is the 4th time that I'm pregnant. This is the first time that I'm reaching the end of the first trimester. So it's been a quite nerve-wracking experience so far, and I have not been feeling 100% myself, although I think I'm not particularly bad off. But last week, or actually this week on Monday, we had a very good ultrasound, and we could see the little arms and legs and the head and the heart and all that kind of baby stuff. And you guys, I'm sorry if you're not into babies or if babies is a sensitive point for you, because I realize myself that it is not always easy to have children if you want them, and that obviously not even everyone wants them. But they are on my brain right now, and this is my podcast, so I am going to talk about it anyway. But I think that's also a major reason why I haven't been there for quite some time. It's also a part of the reason that I'm going back to study. That's because I didn't really feel like applying for a job in my current situation. There's a lot of new things coming our way, and it's really exciting and at the same time very scary, and I don't know. But so far everything seems to be going extremely well with our little baby, so that's very exciting. So let me tell you a little bit more about this project, because after Monday, after the good ultrasound, I started working properly on this little sweater. And this is the Marius Sweater. It's a Norwegian pattern, I think from the 1950s. Someone, I believe in Søiland has designed this pattern. I'm not really 100% sure about the history of this pattern, but I really liked it when I went on a road trip to Norway. I purchased the pattern for this for adult sizes, and then I knit a sweater out of the magazine with all the patterns for my boyfriend, and I obviously knit one for myself. And because we had these matching sweaters, I thought it would be very cute to make one for our baby as well. One thing about these sweaters, traditionally they are made in a dark color, or the dark blue, the navy blue, with white contrast for men, and in opposite colors for women. And we don't know what we are going to have, a boy or a girl. We also don't want to find out. Who knows, we might accidentally find out with the next ultrasound. But for now, we wanted to have something that is suitable for both a boy and a girl, so we chose to not do this in the traditional colors. So I looked up a pattern, and SKD, which is Scandinavian Knitting Designs, they have a website, and they translate the Norwegian patterns into English, so that you can knit them a little bit easier if you're not a Norwegian yourself. So the sweaters for my boyfriend and for me, I have knit them I think about 2 years ago, and I knit those from the Norwegian magazine, so that's not really a problem for me. With a little bit of Google Translate, I can knit from Norwegian patterns, but I purchased a baby version in English this time, which I must admit is a lot easier. And I knit this sweater. I did modify the pattern a little bit because the pattern only came from a 6 months and up size, and I want this to fit our baby right after birth. This has 2 reasons. First of all, this might be a sweater that we want to use for a newborn shoot, but we will see about that. Who knows in what state me and the baby will be after labor. So yeah, let's not go there too much, because that's going to be difficult. And also because our baby is due by the end of February, so that means that right around its due date, it's going to be cold, or it's very likely still cold enough to be wearing a sweater, and in March it's likely to be cold enough to be wearing a sweater. April maybe, but by the time May rolls around, I'm pretty sure that this sweater won't get worn anymore. So it was perfectly fine for me to knit a smaller size than the 6 month size. So I had a little bit of a tighter gauge than the pattern actually called for, and also modified the pattern. Took a few stitches less than the 6 month size, and had a tighter gauge, but I did look up some sewing patterns for newborns to see what kind of dimensions I should expect. This sounds very technical for talking about a baby, but I haven't had a baby before, so I can't tell exactly what size to expect, and even if I did know exactly what size a baby was going to be, then I wouldn't know how to translate that to a pattern. So I was happy to use a pattern as a guideline. The pattern also actually called for a neckline that was just sewn together, or maybe 3 needle bind off at the edge, and just a tiny neck opening, and that didn't seem very suitable for a baby to me. So I decided to make some buttonholes and put in some buttons, which I had to look for today because the knitting was all finished yesterday. But then there was still quite some construction work to do, because you may not be able to see this, but this little sweater is steeked. So this is actually the first project that I ever put on under my sewing machine to sew in lines of stitching to secure the armholes. It was a very tiny steek as well, so they basically have this one side stitch. They don't tell you exactly where you should expect the sleeve to start, but here there is one ridge of pearls, and they tell you just sew through the stitches right next to there and cut open that one stitch. I have done some steeks before, never with this soft yarn. The yarn that I've used is Lamana Como, so I have some leftovers of this yarn. It's a 100% merino. I believe it's 120 meters, which will probably be around 130 yards in 25 grams. So it's a it's a relatively small skein, but it's quite airy and very, very soft merino. So here is the label. It's Lamana Como, and I was feeling the yarns in my local yarn store, and I felt this one, and I thought this is going to be it. Had about the right meterage. Was 100% wool, which I liked, because there was also this yarn that was merino cashmere, and it was so incredibly soft, and I was really tempted to go for that yarn, but I also know that tiny babies are likely to, get dirty and that their clothes may need to be washed soon, fast, often, and therefore wool already isn't ideal, I guess, but I thought 100% wool is definitely more wash friendly than something with a cashmere in there. Yeah, so I chose this yarn, and I'm really happy with it, and so far the steek seems very good. Norwegian patterns often tell you to knit a little bit extra on the sleeve, so that you can sew something over it, over the steek. So the steek is actually hidden in a pocket that is already tucked away with this blue on the inside of the sweater. So that's pretty safe, I guess, for unraveling. Also like to show you the inside of my color work, because I'm a little bit proud of how nice and even it looks. I mean, wouldn't you want to show off if it looked like this? Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. It's I think one of my better color work jobs I've done so far. So yeah. And yeah, I think that's basically all that I have to share about this pattern. So I went to the store today to pick up some buttons. I went looking for something that matched the blue of the neckline, but couldn't really find a proper color blue, so, and also the proper size button. So I found these metal buttons, and they have these little anchors on there, and I think that's really cute. To me they look a little bit more Swedish than Norwegian, and I'm not really sure why that is, because I feel like Norway has a big sailing history as well. So I'm not sure why I think of Sweden right away when I see this tiny logo, but I thought it was very fitting for a Scandinavian sweater. So I'm really happy that I found these buttons. And yeah, this is the first knit for our baby, and I'm planning on, of course, also finishing some projects that were already on the go, and still knitting some stuff for my boyfriend and for myself and for others around us. But I can tell, if I'm being realistic, then baby knits are definitely on my radar. So if you have any good pattern suggestions for baby stuff, please let me know. Doesn't matter if it's free or not free. Really good patterns obviously deserve to be paid for. if necessary. But if they come free, then of course I won't complain. Yeah. So if you know about baby blankets or baby sweaters or whatever, I'm not particularly looking to knit dresses, because who knows, I might never have a girl. So that's one thing that I don't particularly look for. But yeah, furthermore, I think everything is open. So yeah, here is the tiniest Marius sweater that I've ever seen in real life, and I'm so happy with how this turned out. I'm going to bring it to show to my grandma tomorrow. She already knows that I'm pregnant. I would think it's weird if this is online before I tell my family. Obviously, some people in my close surroundings know this, but you know, putting something like this on the internet, especially before you've decided if you're still going to continue looking for a job, seems a little tricky. So yeah, that's why we're sharing today. I think by now I've really told everything that I can tell about this little sweater. Yeah. So there's one more project that I've been working on this week, and that's spinning project. And it's a bit of a special project, as you may be able to tell from just looking at it. So a few weeks ago, a lady from a local knit group, she was asking for people if they knew how to spin, or she found out that I knew how to spin, if I would be willing to spin some dog hair, because a friend of hers had a dog, and I believe since she's asked, the dog has actually passed away. And as any of you guys know who've ever had pets, some pets are just really special to their owner, and this woman has collected all the fur from her dog when she was combing it, so not after it's had trimming something. I think it's some kind of shepherd dog, but I'm not really sure what kind of dog it is. But I'm trying to spin some yarn for her out of the dog hairs that she's collected over the years. I believe she's had the dog for about 10 years, and now it has passed away, so that makes it extra special to be able to do something for this person. I met her obviously because she came to my place to bring quite a big bag of dog hair, and it's quite interesting to spin with because it's a shorter length of fiber than what I'm used to when I'm spinning wool. The hairs are a little bit longer and a bit toothier, so I can spin very fine yarns with it, and as you can see here, this is quite a substantial yarn even in single ply, and yeah, it's an interesting experience for me to try to spin with it. And also it fluffs in all directions, and I'm completely covered with dog hairs, which, although they don't seem to be willing to stick to each other so much when you're spinning, they do definitely want to spin to stick to my skirts or dresses or whatever I'm wearing. So I've been spinning with a towel on my lap so that the dog hairs get into the towel and not on all of my clothes. But it's an enjoyable process, and I'm happy to be able to help someone, and I have still plenty of tiny bags of dog hair to spin, and I'm really excited to see what kind of end result I will be able to achieve. So this is going to be a project that's probably going to take a while, but it's interesting, at least it is for me. So yeah, that is everything that I have to share with you. So I believe I didn't really mention this in the beginning of this episode because it was a bit messy, and actually my boyfriend and I both really didn't know what to do or say at the beginning of this episode, because we obviously planned something, but finding out, like, we weren't going to write a script to know exactly what to say and when to say or whatever. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I would really like to thank you a lot for stopping by and listening to me babble about basically only just 2 projects, of which one to me is obviously very special. So yeah, I hope you guys all have a lovely week, and I hope to see you again next week. So bye!